Hello, welcome to today's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Today we have filmmaking legend, one of my idols. I grew up on his movies. The man, the myth, the legend, Jim Wynorski.
How are you, everybody?
Jim, you may know him from such classic movies as Chopping Mall, one of my favorites. Death Stalker 2, another one of my favorites. From Not of This Earth.
Return of Swamp Thing.
Return of Swamp Thing. Your newest one, Murder Bots.
Murder Bots, right? Playing now on Tubi.
On Tubi. And I just got the DVD for Bigfoot or Bust.
Absolutely. Check it out.
Yes.
Check it out.
173 movies?
Yes.
173 movies.
I'm ashamed to say that some of them aren't really that good, but there are 173 of them.
Well, not everyone can do it.
I try my hardest every time.
Yeah, you're gonna do. You see, you're not like some of these directors who just do it for the paycheck. You're here you put your heart into something.
I do it for the hot chicks and the paycheck.
Oh my God, you have been in movies with some of the most beautiful women on the planet.
Yes, I have to say I have.
Yeah, as being a fan of Death Stalker 2.
Yes.
Holy crap, that has like 10 of like the hottest quote unquote scream queens at the time.
10? No, it's got 3.
3, but there's a bunch of like the
Oh, it's got some Amazons, but it had Monique Gabrielle.
Yes.
Who was playing 2 parts.
Yep.
And it had Tony Naples, who was playing the villain. And it had a girl named Maria Sokas, who lived in Argentina, who was playing the Amazon Queen.
Yeah. This was part of a Roger Corman, like, 4-movie made at once thing, right? Did an Argentina?
No, well, he made a deal to make, I think, 6 movies there. And the first movie he made was Death Stalker 2. Not Death Stalker 1.
Okay.
And then he made Barbarian Queen. He made Warrior and Sorceress with David Carradine. And then he made Amazons. And then he made Death Stalker 2. I was the last one there.
Oh.
So there was no money.
There was no money. But how was it working for Roger Corman?
I enjoyed working with him because he was very knowledgeable about filmmaking. He constantly had new ideas, fresh ideas, and he wanted to make a buck, so he would go with exploitation movies, and if you brought him a good one, he'd grab it and do it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what made it so wonderful to work there.
So I know that he was notorious for having the poster before the movie. Was that with
Yeah, well, he did that a lot. But when I took over the job of making the posters, which is how I got in with him, he would say, "Go make the poster and go make the trailer." Got into a lot of trouble because there was a moment when I was given a film, an Italian film called Island of the Fishmen, and it was so archaic, it was old, and he wanted to turn it into a slasher movie. And he said, "Let's call it Something Waits in the Dark." And he said, "Make a poster that looks exactly like Humanoids from the Deep," which was a girl that looked like she'd just been raped.
Yeah.
And there's a pair of eyes. And I said, "Roger, that doesn't happen at all in this movie." He said, "Damn it, just do it." Okay, and I had just started there, so I was said, "Okay, I'll do whatever you want." But anyway, we made a poster that looked like humanoids. We called it Something Waits in the Dark, and he tested it. He made, I think, 12 prints of it and went to Tucson, Arizona. And it died. It died. I come in Monday, he said, "Oh my God, get rid of that movie, okay?" I said, "Well, let's try it once again." And he said, no, 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 I don't have any money. I don't want to put any more money into that movie. It's a bomb. And I said, look, give me one more chance, and let me retitle it and come up with something. He said, okay, but you have, $10, okay? And so I changed the title to Screamers because Scanners was popular at the time. And when I was a kid, I had this old horror record about a man turned inside out. And I used to play it all the time, and they had these great sound effects of a guy turning inside out. And I said, I'm going to make that, I'm going to call it that. I'm going to call it Screamers. They're men turned inside out. And worse, they're still alive. And I called Rob Bottin, who was about to work on The Thing.
Yeah.
And I said, can you come up with an inside-out man? And he said, sure, I can. I said, well, then do that. And I went down to the set where they had filmed this very multi-million-dollar movie called Galaxy of Terror. And all these big sci-fi sets designed by James Cameron were up and just lying, waiting to be torn down.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to shoot an entire trailer on these sets. And so I hired my girlfriend. She came down. Rob came down. We had a small, little, tiny 3-man crew. And we shot a trailer, all the footage, for just a trailer.
Yeah.
Which I kind of wrote and planned. And I cut it together, and I said I think it was Monday. I said, "You want to see what I did?" He said, "No, just test it, okay?" And they sent it out to Phoenix. The next weekend, they sent those same 15 prints, now called with Screamers, because we went in and changed the title, and they sent those 15 prints to Phoenix for a test market. It was on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday morning at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. I got a phone call. I said, who the fuck's calling me at 7 a.m.? I pick up the phone, and it's Roger Corman. And he says, Jim. I said, and I'm already worried. I say, here goes my job. What's going to happen here? I'm going to get fired. It sounded like that anyway. He said, what did you put in the trailer for Screamers? And I told him the story I just told you. And then he said, is any of that footage in the movie? And this is where I said, I figured I was going to get fired. Boom, right there. I said, yes, it's not there. I shot it all on the set of Galaxy of Terror. And he says, well, we're going to have to put it in the movie because they rioted at a drive-in in Phoenix last night and almost hung the manager when you didn't get that, when they didn't get the inside-out man. And it was, again, 7:15. He said, put on your clothes and come down here to the studio and we'll figure out something. And I said, so I'm not fired? And he said, no, of course not. You turned the movie around. You made it a hit. You got people to come out and pay to go in to see it with your trailer. And he said, and that's what I hired you for. But he still wanted to put the stuff in the movie. So got dressed, drove down to the studio. I got there pretty fast because it was Saturday morning.
Yeah. No traffic.
And there was no traffic. And he's got breakfast waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, I'm in. It was a 4-reel film, 4 reels, all that ran about 20 minutes. So you had about an 80-minute movie.
Yeah. And
in reel 3, the hero is running around some old house that was supposed to be 1880, and he's looking for Sylvia, 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 Sylvia. And he's opening doors and he's looking at, and there's no Sylvia, and he's slamming doors. And this is at the beginning of reel 3. And Roger says, there, right there. It's at the beginning of the reel. When he opens that last door, we're going to cut in all your footage. And so we sat there with the editor, and he took all the footage I'd constructed for the trailer and made a little sequence out of it. And guy opens the door. It cuts to some futuristic set.
Yeah.
Inside Out Man is created. Everybody's wearing normal, everyday, like lab coats, and it looks like today rather than 1880. And the girl's then chased around by the Inside Out Man. And then it cuts back to him at the door, and he just slams the door and moves on. And there were 2 shots earlier in the movie where his eyes are bulging out at something, and he said, go get those and cut it in and keep cutting back to him staring at what was going on. So they made this piece of film that ran, I don't know, must have run 60 or 90 seconds. And they made 12 prints of it, and then hand cut it into the movie in all 12 prints. And that was my first directing gig.
Was directing that little
sequence
90-second sequence for.
Yeah, I don't. It was between a minute and a minute 30, and so he was very impressed that I had taken the jump, and come to the set and made this thing that sold the movie.
Yeah.
And he said, I should have had you just make this movie. And so that was how I started with Roger. And once that happened, I made another movie on his set, on his studio location, but for somebody else. And then his wife, Julie Corman, was asked to do a movie about a slasher in a mall. And she said to me, if you write a good story, I'll let you direct it. So I got together with a pal of mine named Steve Mitchell, and we wrote Chopping Mall. Originally it was called Robot.
Yeah.
Just R-O-B-O-T with periods after each. That's the 912 coming in.
That's the train.
Behind.
The train is immediately outside the building.
Yeah. And so we wrote it as Robot. Then it became Killbots when we were shooting it. And then same thing happened. We took it. I think they went to Atlanta, Georgia, or some suburb outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
And they tested it under that title, Killbots. Nobody went to see it. It did very weak business. And and Roger said, I don't know, you made a good movie, but no one's going to see it. Maybe it's the title. Let's go watch the movie again. Maybe we'll be inspired. So we went back to the screening room, and there was a little tiny shoebox screening room at Corman's. And there was a guy then inside changing light bulbs for the walkways. Some janitor, I think he was replacing little tiny lights. And he's in there, we're running the movie, and he's changing lights. The whole movie goes by, and the lights come up, and Roger says, I don't know. And then the guy who's changing lights says, why don't you just call it Chopping Mall? Okay? And I looked at Roger, and he said, we're half off. It's just the beginning. Okay? And I said, where shopping costs you an arm and a leg. And he then said, Jim, go make a new poster and change the title. and it became Chopping Mall. And it went out again to Georgia again, but it played a different area around. And I think it was went to Athens,
Okay.
Georgia, and it did, well, big business under the title Chopping Mall, and it taught me a lesson because I learned that there's an audience out there, and there's a perception amongst audiences when they read a title.
Yeah.
They think, oh, this is going to be about this.
Mm-hmm.
So, after all was said and done, it became Chopping Mall, and it got some nice reviews at the time, and then went right to home video where it did amazing business.
Yeah. You could not go in any video store in the 80s without seeing that classic Chopping Mall poster with the hand and the bag.
Yeah, it was like I remember when the guy drew it, I said, do a little something with a shopping bag from a mall with some dead body parts in it and a kind of a robot hand holding it, and because that's what I had put in the trailer. We shot stuff expressly for the trailer of the robots killing some folks.
Yeah.
And it's not in the movie. It's all in the trailer.
Well, that was really common at one point when they would shoot trailer-only film back in the 50s and 60s. So that was really common going into that point. Yeah.
Yeah, well, as soon as it was done, Roger said, how'd you like to go to Argentina? I said, sure, I'll go to Argentina. And he sent me down to Buenos Aires to make Deathstalker 2. And it was the last of the five movies that they were making there. And, I took some buddies. I took John Terlesky, who had been in Chopping Mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I took Monique Gabrielle and Tony Naples from... Tony Naples was in Chopping Mall, too. But she was the girl I was going out with at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, if I'm going to go down there, I want a babe around me, okay? I want to come with a babe, especially since I'm going to be down there 2 months, okay? So I went down there, and they were finishing Amazons, and so I got to meet the girls that were in Amazons, and I was prepping my show down there, and script was so bad. Oh my God, script was so bad that I couldn't. I said, I'm not shooting this. It was terrible. It was like stiff, boring, awful, and it was written by some kid who would, I guess, was trying to copy the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to John Terlesky, I said, John, we can't make this film. It'll die on the vine. So I threw it out, and I started writing a script with John.
Mm-hmm.
And we were adding stuff every night at the hotel. We would sit in a hotel where they had a little kind of like guest area. And we would write, 6, 7 pages, and the next day give it to the actors and say, we're doing this today. And finally the people that were making the film, or kind of in charge of the film for Roger, called Roger and said, this guy's completely out of control. He's not making the film. Roger calls me and says, what are you doing down there? And I said, I'm making a good movie. He says, I'm coming down. I'm bringing my wife. Get ready, okay? And I said, I'm ready. Come on down. Oh, and by the way, I need a lady wrestler, okay? I need the biggest, hulkiest lady wrestler you can find. And I need her by the weekend. He says, what's that for? I said, I'm doing a sequence. He says, that's not in the script. I said, no, it is not, but it will be by Friday. Because I had walked out on the lot, and I found a complete boxing ring, kind of a prehistoric boxing ring, out in the forest behind the studio. And I said, I got to use that. John, let's make Rocky. Okay, let's do Rocky. And he said, sounds good to me. So we were just doing stuff almost every day that was counter to what was in the original script.
It's funny because we always talk about the tonal changes between 1, 2, and 3. And 2 is funny, it's entertaining. Those other ones are just like...
It's 2 is loaded with action, too.
Oh, it's so fun. And then it's got that music that...
Yeah, I mean, I hired John Lazar, who had been Z-Man in Russ Meyer's Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. And he was kind of like flamboyant. And I had him, and I had John, and I had Monique and Tony. And I got those girls in a lot of nice outfits. They looked fantastic.
You are known for just putting, like, you find, like, the most gorgeous women out there.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
It's a little personal note. You can tell me yay or nay. Did that ever have any issues with any of your relationships? The fact that you used to bring these beautiful women around?
You can tell who I'm going out with.
Because they're in the movie.
You can tell who I'm going out by watching my movies in order. You'll be watching and say, "Oh, there's Raven Delacroix, or there's Monique Gabrielle, and there's Tony Naples, and there's Kelly Maroney, and there's." But when I hit in 1991, I made a movie called Sorceress, with Linda Blair. I'd already made a film called Sorceress back in the 80s, but they wanted to call it Sorceress, so I said, okay, let's make 2 films called Sorceress.
Yep.
And it had Linda Blair and Edward Albert Jr., and it had a lot of interesting faces.
Yeah.
And some girl had come in to meet me, named Melissa Brissell, the daughter of Keith Brissell, who was kind of a 50s handsome actor.
Yeah.
And she'd come in to read for Body Chemistry 3, and she was good, she was beautiful, she was sexy. I said, wow, you don't see this type of all the time.
Yeah.
But she wasn't right for Body Chemistry 3. I needed someone with a little difference.
Yeah.
But I said, I'll keep you in mind. And when I was making Munchie, I said, she called me, and I said, why don't you come down to the set tomorrow? I'll put you in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. And she came down to the set. I spent the whole day with her, and I kind of fell in love with her that day, and put her in everything after that. I think she's done 30 of my movies over the course of the years, and I'm still with her.
There you go.
I'm still with her.
That's cool. That's cool. That's a run.
She's in Murderbot. She's in. Oh God, she's in a lot of my movies.
It's funny because I'll sit there and I'll on Facebook you'll pop up about the show and stuff like that. And like these actresses that I'm following, will be like, "Hey Jim, oh, what's your?"
All I can tell you is, you can tell who I'm dating by watching my movies in order.
And that's an impressive lineup of beautiful women.
I can't tell you. I work with a lot of them. If you've watched late night Skinamax movies, I must have made 20 of those until the bottom dropped out of that. Movies go in cycles. In the 90s, it was erotic thrillers, and they were extremely popular. I made half a dozen of those.
Yeah.
And then toward the end of the 90s, people were doing military thrillers.
Yeah.
With helicopters and submarines and all that kind of bullshit. And the big thing about that was you had to either shoot on a boat or a submarine but that was expensive.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I'd go to big studios like Paramount, MGM, and they used to have stock footage libraries.
Yeah.
If someone had an explosion in a movie, they'd put 10 cameras on it. 10! And they'd have 10 cameras. And the editors would probably use the negatives from camera 8 and camera 3. And say, oh, we'll start the explosion with camera 8 and then cut to camera 3.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 9, and 10 never got used.
So you just have that extra footage.
So all that's so I have 8 different versions of that explosion. Sometimes it's a house, sometimes it's a car, sometimes it's a brick wall. But I had all these explosions, and I had parts of car chases, parts of ski chases, all kinds of stuff that I was able to get and you put in my movies.
Yeah.
And I became kind of adept at saying, I want all that. And then I would go home and write the scenes and make those scenes work with stuff that I bought.
Yeah.
And unless you are totally familiar with the movies, you'd think you were watching just my movie.
Yeah, you're not noticing that there's bits and pieces of this movie, bit and piece of that movie.
It all worked well until about 2004, 2005. There was a producer at Paramount named Mace Neufeld, who had produced, what did he produce? He produced a lot of action movies, but he did The Hunt for Red October.
Yeah.
And I had coincidentally stolen a lot of footage, not stolen, but purchased a lot of footage from The Hunt for Red October. And one night he was watching a movie on cable, and it was mine. And he said, "What the fuck? That's all the stuff I shot for Red October." And he calls Paramount the next day and throws a hissy fit, and that closed the door on me and everybody else. But by that time, it was like closing the barn door after the horses ran out.
Yep.
Because we had gone in and bought all this great footage, and I had it, and I was using it.
That goes way back on people doing that with the
Yeah, it's been done for years, but
Yeah.
the thing is, I brought it back to life, and because I saw an ad one day in Variety, Daily Variety.
Mhm.
And it was from Paramount, and they said, "We'll sell you your stock, some stock footage. Contact us at this number." And I did. I contacted at them, and I said, "Do you really have all that stock footage?" "Yeah, come on in and we'll take a look." This was in 96 or 97. I don't remember which, but they went over to Paramount, and I saw all this footage from Top Gun. What else? Whatever. Paramount was big on making these big action movies.
Yeah.
And I said, can I buy that footage? They had Iron Eagle. Remember that one?
Yeah, I love Iron Eagle.
And Iron Eagle was they had all this footage of jets exploding, and I said, I'm going to use that footage. And I was writing movies after I bought the stock footage, and people would hire me because I was the only guy that knew what I was doing. Because other people tried it and they did it wrong. But I knew exactly how to do it right.
Nice.
And it was interesting.
Like I said, you've made so many movies I absolutely love. And knowing that you went, like I said, I love Chopping Mall, I love Death Stalker. Knowing full well that you went in with a script, didn't do it. We did around, because I told you that my thing with Chopping Mall is almost every year at Christmas time, I show that at the shop. Because I count it as a Christmas movie, because you said because you see Christmas stuff in the background.
It's there.
And you said, that's because we filmed it at Christmas time. And I'm like, it's not meant to be a Christmas movie, but it is now for me.
Well, it was shot around Christmas time,
Mm-hmm.
and there was decorations that we could not take down because they were up and they were there. And I said, people aren't going to notice them. And unless you're told to look for them, you don't see them. You see the robots, you see the girls, you see everybody running, you see explosions, you see fire. You're not looking for Christmas decorations.
See, I'm horrible. Tina, who's off camera over here. She makes fun of me because I'm a film guy. I love film history. I love watching how they make films. I'm one of the ones who still goes in and watches the commentaries and all the behind the scenes.
I think there's a lot of people that do that.
And we laugh about that. You were sitting there. I was like, but I'm so. Oh, well, look at that! Look at that! Look at that! And I'm like, oh, it must be Christmas time. It's like just in the background. Because I guarantee you, I've seen Shopping Mall. If I've seen it once,
You've seen it twice.
No, I've probably seen it 25 times, maybe.
Oh my God, it's more than I've seen it.
I've probably seen Deathstalker too, probably 20 times or more.
Well, I had fun making these movies,
and you can tell.
And Shopping Mall was, I owned the mall for 4 weeks, and we would come in at 9:00 each night.
Yeah, you had
because the mall would close at like 9:00,
mm-hmm.
And so from 9 until 8 in the morning,
mm-hmm.
I had the mall because it opened at 8,
yeah,
and closed at 9 at night. And between that time, I would sit there in a robe, in slippers, and direct the movie. And there was a lot of action in that movie because I found the right place the right mall. If you're in the wrong mall, you have a little problem. This was a big mall and it had a lot of open spaces, and I ended up using a lot of them.
Yep.
But the robots, who were not CGI, they were real.
Yeah.
Were controlled by, radio controlled, so that it didn't look like there were people in them. But to get them to do what I needed them to do, sometimes it would take 8 or 9 takes to get them to do it exactly right. They had to come in, stop, back up, and park, and turn their lights off to wait for someone to come along so that they could get them.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time doing that, getting the right takes, and but it was worth it at the end of the day,
And you told me this because my son pointed this out. He goes, Chopping Mall is an unofficial Eating Raoul sequel.
Yes,
because you bring them in, and you were supposed to be more with the horse, right?
Yeah, there was a scene where the Blands, from Eating Raoul, were supposed to be bringing a horse into their restaurant to serve to the customers, but Roger said, "I don't have money for a horse."
Money for a horse.
So we killed that.
Well, oh my God. How was it working with? You did Not of This Earth, the remake with Tracy Lords.
That was another good one. We were sitting around the studio one night, and someone found a print of Roger's version of Not of This Earth. And I said, "Let's run it." Okay. So we pulled out a 16 millimeter projector and took it back, and we pulled the speakers away, and we projected it on a big white wall of the studio. And everybody was having a good time. It's a 65-minute movie.
Yeah.
And I'd seen it many times as a kid because it played New York TV. But it was good to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I should remake this. There's a lot of stuff. And my original intent was to use there's a limousine Cadillac that goes off a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I probably could use that and just color it blue, And so that's what I did. I said, I'm going to make Not of This Earth. I found the script. The hardest part of the movie was trying to find Tracy Lords. The porno mafia was after her. Yeah. Because of her being underage, they had to throw thousands and thousands of dollars of tapes in the garbage because she was underage.
Yep.
And so she was afraid that the porno mafia was looking to get even.
Yeah.
And so she was kind of semi in hiding.
In hiding. Wow.
And I finally tracked her down. I said, "Come meet me at Musso and Frank's in Hollywood." You know, and she came in, she had sunglasses on. She looked like, it looked like some European spy movie from
With the high-collared coat and the hat down low.
1966.
Yep.
And we sat down, we had a nice lunch. And I said, "Look, Tracy, this is a real movie. And I think you'd be perfect for this role. Here's the script. Take it home. Give me a call." Finally, she said, "Okay, I'll do it." And she came in. And on the first day, she was very nervous because it was something new for her.
Yeah.
And I said, "Just don't sweat it. I have 12 days to make this movie." And she had a very disastrous first day. She was very nervous and didn't do as well. And I finally found her crying in the makeup room. And I said, "Look, it's just a movie, okay?
Yeah.
I know you're up for it." And I talked her into. I said, "Just come back to the set and do this last scene."
Mm-hmm.
And she did. And she did a good job. And she said, "But what about all the other stuff we did today?" I said, "Don't worry, I'll cut around it, okay?" So anyway, I ended up finishing the movie on the 11th day, and it was all done. I didn't need anybody anymore. It was done. And I said, "Tracy, we're still shooting tomorrow. We're going to reshoot day one tomorrow.
Yeah.
So just learn it again and come back in tomorrow, and we'll reshoot everything that included you from day one." And we did. And she was perfect. She was spot on and did a great job. And I was very impressed with her. I made another movie with her called Shark and Saw Women's Prison Massacre.
Yep.
And that was kind of fun to kind of reunite with her on that one.
It's funny because I would have brought that to sign because I have Shark and Saw Women's Prison on DVD.
Okay.
I loaned it out to a friend of mine, and
He kept it.
I gotta get it back from him. It's one of the ones where I gotta remind him, but I'll get it back.
Okay, good.
But it's one of because we always joke about bad shark movies come, and I go, "Shark and Saw, that's not real." And I was like, "Here you go." And I handed.
I remember I don't know, 10 years ago, shark movies were everywhere. Everybody was doing
Sharknado.
Everybody was doing a shark movie. I'm in the shower one day and I'm saying, "What the hell can I do that has a shark in the title?" And suddenly, I don't know, it just popped in my head, Shark and Saw. And I said, "Okay, Shark and Saw Women's Prison Massacre." And I said, I want to see if I can get that financed. And I did.
Yeah.
And as soon as it was financed, I called Tracy. I said, "Do you want to play the detective?" "Yes, I'd love to come." And so we all went down to, I forgot where I made that movie, Florida, I think. And we made it in Florida. And she was great. It was great to see her again, And then I put her kid, she's got a 12-year-old. This was like 6-7 years ago. He's probably 20 by now. But I put her 12-year-old kid, Gunner, in one of my doggy movies, A Doggone Christmas.
Yeah.
So, what goes around?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that I'm going through your IMDb, and it's horror movie, action movie,
sex movie,
exploitation, erotic thriller, kids movie.
Well, why limit yourself to doing just one genre?
Heck yeah.
I love westerns. I did one western, and in some respects, Big Bad Mama 2 is kind of a spaghetti western.
Yeah.
Because of its time in 1930.
Yep, it's that very end. Some of the West was still kind of wild, even in the.
Yeah,
30s.
I mean, I did make it like a spaghetti western.
Yeah.
And then later on, I got to do Hard Bounty with Kelly LeBrock.
Yep.
and Matt McCoy, and that was a complete spaghetti.
We always do. We were talking about this. I was like, I think every director inadvertently makes a spaghetti western, even if they don't know they're making a spaghetti western.
Well, I knew. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at my first film, I love them. I love the spaghetti westerns. Even in Lost Empire, when I finally had the ability to do anything. When I was making my first film called, as I said, Lost Empire, and I figured, okay, I may never get another chance to make another movie.
Yeah.
If this tanks, I'm going to have this to show.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to put everything I love about movies into one big movie, okay? And it's got everything. It's got spaghetti westerns. It's got a gorilla. It's got a car chase. It's got a showdown. It's got women in prison. It's everything.
It's the best of all worlds there.
Yeah, it's everything in one movie.
Yeah. Spaghetti westerns are fun because I'll say this and I'll say this till the day I die. I like that style because the West was not clean. And if you watch the American versions of westerns, they're all got their teeth are all shiny white, their clothes aren't dusty. You go watch a spaghetti western, everybody's dirty. Everybody.
Well, that's why, when I was making Hard Bounty, I was looking for those kinds of people. And I did. I hired a couple of friends to be in it, but again, my love of hot babes.
Yes.
It's all about, three hot babes who go on a flight for revenge.
Yep. I haven't watched Hard Bounty in a long time. I need to go back and watch that. So, with the rise of streaming networks like Tubi and Plex, I keep telling people, I was like, a ton of his movies are out there. If you want to go watch Jim's movies, you go to Tubi or Plex. They're all over that.
I'm on Amazon Prime. Yeah. I'm on Hulu. I'm on YouTube.
Peacock. You're on Peacock because Chopping Mall's on Peacock.
On Peacock. I'm with over 175 movies.
Yeah.
They all end up somewhere.
Yeah.
There's only a few you can't find.
We talked about this. The one that I cannot find that I want to watch because I haven't watched it in forever was you did the first Vampirella movie.
Vampirella is hard to find.
Yeah.
I was speaking to a guy at your convention today who tried to find it last night, and he was unsuccessful.
I had a old rental VHS tape.
Good for you.
And I think it gave up the ghost like a decade ago.
Oh.
And now I don't even have that anymore. I think I might have this case still, but I'd have to go.
All right, well, it's out there on DVD.
Yeah.
And I think eventually they'll get around to putting it on Blu-ray. Because a lot of my stuff's coming out on Blu-ray now.
Yeah, because I know you said Sorceress, because that just came out on Blu-ray, right? Recently, with the Julie Strain.
Yeah, that came out on Blu-ray, and what else? Attack of the 50-Foot Cam Girl, Giantess Battle Attack,
Return of Swamp Thing.
Return of Swamp Thing. It's odd what they put out.
Yeah.
Because these people don't know what's hot and what's not. Munchie's out, but Munchie Strikes Back is not.
No.
Big Bad Mama 2 came out. Deathstalker 2 came out. Chopping Mall. I was the guy who went and did the Blu-ray of Chopping Mall because it was hard to find.
Yeah.
All the negatives and everything were elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and found the original vocal tracks and music tracks and everything. And I supervised the Blu-ray of that.
Okay.
And it looks fantastic.
Yeah, because because I know there for a while the only way to get Chopping Mall, 976 Evil 2, and another one was in one of those DVD multi-packs.
Those are great.
I love those.
Those are great. I mean, I would go into Target or Walgreens, and there'd be a barrel full of $5 DVDs.
Yeah.
And I walked in there once. I said, "Oh my God, Chopping Mall and 976 and Ghoulies 4, they're all on this one thing, And I said, I'm going to pick that up. And that turned out to be, now it's the $50 DVD.
Yeah, it got really stupid expensive there for a while.
I mean, I saw it on eBay for $50. I said, what are these people thinking? It was like something that they were kind of giving away back in the day.
I bought a bunch of them because when I found out I ended up buying. Our Walmart had like 5 of them. I bought all 5 of them, and I gave them to a bunch of my friends for presents.
Good for
to
you.
Make sure that they had it.
Good for you. Nice guy.
That's what I try to do. You're just prolific. We talked about this. How you got 2 movies in 5 days. You shot.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. I when Cinemax started making those erotic late night movies.
Yeah.
HBO was paying. They owned Cinemax, and they were paying $80,000 for one of those titles.
Yeah.
And I said, "Jesus, Louises, I can make one of those, and I can make them for a lot less than $80,000." And I decided to make 2 at the same time. I said, if I could sell for 2, I'm sitting there. I'll be sitting there with $160,000 if I make 2, and I decided to make 2 in 5 days. And I had scripts. I conceived of scripts that would each contain 10 love scenes at 4 minutes each. Okay, and I had 40-page scripts, and 40-page scripts with dialogue translates as Cinemax and stuff.
Cinemax. 160,000.
You'll be able to.
Yeah, we can rewind. Go back. You just did 2 days, 5 days, 40 page scripts, 10 4-minute love scenes.
Yes, that's right. 10 4-minute love scenes. So that's 40 minutes there.
Uh-huh.
And the 40 pages translates as another 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I made both films together with the same actors, and I would have them change clothes, and wherever I was, I would set it up and say, okay, that was Witches of Brestwick. Now Lust Connection over here. Same thing. Just move the camera from here to there with kind of the same scenery.
Yeah.
And I got 2 78-minute movies at the end of the day, and I sold them to Cinemax for $80,000 each. And the whole week was like $35,000.
Ooh. That's bank.
And I said, that's terrific. And I said, we're going to do 2 more. And I kept making them. Once they sold, I said, I can sell these things all day long.
Yeah. And
but they fell out of favor as well.
Yeah. Well, it's like cycles. It's as much as I'm a comic book fan, and I knew that comic book thing was going to dissipate sooner or later. I knew it was going to happen. I'm fully aware.
Yeah.
of
Well,
that.
I think I made a dozen of those things.
Yeah.
With those funny titles like Witches of Brestwick,
Blair Winch Project.
The Blair Winch Project. That was a wacky one. That was done without a script.
You were the documentary that you were in. Were you
Papatopoulos?
Papatopoulos
is about shooting Witches of Brestwick. I did Witches of Brestwick 2. I did The Hills Have Thighs. I did. Oh my God, all these titles. There was one that got me in trouble, but I forgot which one. I did one, and the title. I'm losing it right now because these are things I knocked off in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I did the Sexually Bugged, which was a remake of The Tingler. About
Vincent Price with the bug on your spine.
Yeah, it's during sex. There's the sex bug comes out and it was just a remake of The Tingler.
That's funny. Well, you told me that your script for Deathstalker 2 was
It happened one night.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a big, famous Academy Award-winning movie with Clark Gable made in 1934 called It Happened One Night. And it's all about this guy who's rescuing a princess, a rich girl, who is run away.
Yeah.
And I said, I said to John, let's do that. Let's just do that, and we threw in all kinds of other, sword and sorcery gunk. But it was like, that's the story, and I said people are gonna warm up to that because they warmed up to it in 1934, and no one knows that movie anymore. They never run it.
No.
But if you see it, it's Deathstalker 2. Okay? And it's very good. So if you're around and you can find that movie, it happened one night.
You made so many. Do you have a favorite that you've made?
The next one.
The next one. Always the next one.
That's it.
It's always the next one. And you did Murderbots.
What's next?
What's next?
I'm doing a reboot of Catwoman of the Moon. And that starts shooting in August. So I'm having a good time with that one.
You sir, are a...
And I'm trying to make a version of The Other. Did you ever see that?
The Other?
Anybody ever seen that? The Other? It's a movie from 1972. Didn't get much play. About the kid who's got a brother, and the brothers almost almost like twins.
Yeah.
And they're always the bad. One's a bad brother, and he's trying to get the other guy in trouble all the time. And it's very M. Night Shyamalan kind of movie, and I want to make that with my girlfriend Rocky DeMarco.
Oh, cool. There's a couple movies with the other, but when you told me it, I was like, I remember that. Yeah, that's that. They love those.
I'm going to be 75 in a month or so, but I don't feel like stopping yet.
If you don't feel like it, don't.
I don't feel like stopping. Why should I stop? I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
You know? And so I made 3 films last year, and I'm finishing one now. One of my Bigfoot or Bust movie was so popular that I just made another one, Bigfoot Burgers and Babes, and that's coming out shortly. And then after that, it's Catwoman of the Moon and whatever I decide to call The Other, because I won't be taking that. I won't taking that title.
Like I said, you are people. It's funny because I had people like who's and I told them, I said, go. You've seen his movies, and they're like, oh, I've seen that one. I've seen that one. That one. You know, I'm like, yeah, go. And he goes, he made kids movies. I'm like, yes, he makes everything.
I make everything.
You gotta have.
But my kids' movies, I always make for adults.
Yeah.
Okay? I throw stuff into my kids' movies that sometimes get me in trouble. On Munchie, it was a kids' movie.
Yeah.
But Munchie, at one point, goes like this. And because he had 4 fingers, the Disney Channel didn't flag it. So on the Disney Channel, when Munchie played, that Munchie goes bang like that but he's got 4 fingers.
He's got fingers, so it'd be less like.
So it's not. They didn't see it. They didn't see it.
Oh yeah.
And I laughed my ass off when that got by.
Oh my god! I remember seeing Munchies, and I'm like, this is funny.
Well, I didn't do Munchies.
Munchie.
Munchies was Roger Corman's attempt to do Gremlins.
Yeah. You did.
And he wanted a sequel to it.
Yeah.
And I said, Roger, I don't want to do a sequel to a movie that was kind of half-assed to begin with, okay? And he said, what do you want to do? Well, I said, I'll do Munchie.
Singular.
And he said, "Okay, go do it, but put somebody in it," which I put Lonnie Anderson and Andrew Stevens in
Yep.
it. And the one interesting thing was again, it was a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
This is pre CGI, so I didn't want that CGI thing.
Yeah.
So we made a kind of a robotic puppet, and it did very well,
Mm-hmm.
and it did better than Munchies.
Yep.
And Roger said, "Make another one." So I made Munchies Strikes Back, and there was supposed to be a third one called Munchies Hangs 10, but because I wanted to do a parody on a beach party
Yeah.
movie, but I got busy with something else, and I
Never got back to it.
never got back to it.
Do you ever? We talked about this. You don't have to say anything. Do you regret doing a movie?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I never regret doing a movie. I don't know. Let me think. The toughest one to make was Vampirella. It was made in Vegas. We had an embezzler on the set who was stealing money.
Ugh.
We had Showtime wanted Talisa Soto to play Vampirella, and as talented and as beautiful as she is, she was not.
Vampirella.
She was not Vampirella. And the crew would go out every night and drink and party
Yeah, you're in Vegas.
because we were in Vegas, and just getting into the set at 8 in the morning was
Pulling teeth.
pulling teeth. And when they got to the set, you knew it was going to be 110. And it was tough. It was tough.
I can imagine it. And Robert Daltrey from The Who. was Dracula.
Roger Daltrey played Dracula, and his name is Vlad in the movie. But,
Yeah.
but he's playing Dracula, and he wrote a song specifically for the movie, and he was a nice guy, and I had a good time working with him. It was great. At lunchtime, you hear him singing on the. He had a trailer, and he'd sit on the steps of the trailer with a guitar, and you hear "Nobody knows what it's like to be the same." I said, "Oh, someone's playing the Who," and it's not the Who, it's him. It's him.
The Who is playing The Who.
The Who is playing the Who, and I said, and he's sitting there singing old Who songs, and I'm saying, "Oh shit, look who's here."
That's funny. See, there's probably like little things, no matter what movie you do, that makes at least
Well, that's what I remember
yeah
from the movie.
the good things.
Was that we had some vampire girls that were just knockouts, but the drunk people would go out and get total smashed, and just get and these were big crew, the sound guy,
Yeah.
the DP, and after a time it was like, okay, everybody's got a hangover this morning. And it's 110.
Ugh.
And we were shooting not in air-conditioned comfort.
No.
We were shooting in locations that were in the sun.
Yeah.
There was an old western town there that I used as a set, and it was out of commission. And I found it, and I said, well, we're going to shoot here. This is where his lair is.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was fun, but oh my God. And then when money went missing, that's when it really hit me. I said, that bitch. I'm not going to mention any names, but it was tough.
Oh.
It was tough.
But you got it. You got the movie out there. You did it. You did best with what you got.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that you worked with that you would love to work with again that you haven't worked with in a long time?
I tell you, I appreciated almost working with everybody.
Oh.
There were 4 people who I hated. I mean, hated. And I'm willing to say I know who they are. Carrie Wurr from she was in. I don't know what she was in, but she was in.
Off Remote Control on MTV. I think.
Yeah, well, bottom line, she was a pain in the ass. Hi, Carrie. How you doing?
If you're watching this.
If you're watching this. And Robert Culp, who I admired
From
I Spy.
yeah.
And he'd also been in Outer Limits. He was in a lot of Outer Limits.
The
Demon with the Glass Hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I said, I want that guy. And Angie Dickinson, who was sweet as pie, kept intimating that I should keep looking. And I didn't want to, but I should have listened to her because he turned out to be a big prick, okay? And then I had Tanya Roberts, who was just... It's not right to speak ill of the dead, but boy, I'm glad she's dead.
Jeez.
She would start at 7:30 in the morning with near beer, and work her way up to booze and pills and everything. I mean, I have a gag reel of her where she goes into a room, a walk-in closet, falls asleep. I said, go in there, take the dress, and walk out. She went in there, didn't walk out. I said, what's going on? Tanya. And I finally I tapped the cameraman on the shoulder. I said, let's go over there. And then we walked over to where the walk-in closet, and there she is. On the rug in the walk-in closet. And I said, holy Christmas. So I made a gag reel. Someday I'll put it out.
It's insane. That
I should put it on YouTube. She was, and she would yell and scream. And after that, I said, no more Tanya Roberts. And she got booed by the crew on her last day. Booed.
But your own movie, that's all.
Yep. So.
And I do have to ask you. You said
I didn't do it.
No. Angie Dickinson. Oh my God.
Angie Dickinson, hot.
And you prime Angie Dickinson right then.
Well, I thought so, and she had been in the first movie I ever saw as a kid. She was in Rio Bravo.
Oh yeah.
And my dad took me to see Rio Bravo when she was like 18 when she made that movie. And so I and she was so sweet. She knew every crew member's name by heart. And if someone had a birthday coming up, she would come in with a cake, just like they did for you today.
Yeah.
Okay. It's his birthday.
It was my birthday a few days ago.
And they came in today and sang happy birthday to him. It was very sweet.
Awesome wife.
And so yeah, she was sweet and sexy and everything else. And after the film was done, she called me one night and said, "Let's go see Huey Lewis in Orange County." I said, "Okay." Yeah. So she came over, and I went out with her and went to see Huey Lewis that night in Orange County.
That right there.
And I'm saying I'm dating Angie Dickinson tonight. I don't have any photographic proof, but it did happen.
It did happen. Oh man, that'd be just weird. You get somewhere and they're like, "What's the weirdest thing?" I went to see Huey Lewis in the News with Angie Dickinson.
That's it.
What?
I did. And it was a good concert too.
That's great. That's awesome and amazing. Sir, you've had a absolute crazy life.
I kind of did.
Yeah.
I kind of did. I always thank God for that.
Yeah.
Because
you ever look back and go, how did a kid from New York come to this and be...
Well, I tell you, I think I don't know if I told you the story, but when I first started out, I was working for a producer named Herbert B. Leonard, who had produced Route 66.
Yeah.
And he also produced Rin Tin Tin. And I was doing a pilot for him. This was the first job I got when I came out to L.A. I was PA. And I was helping him because I knew all these makeup people. And I said, I can help you out because he was doing a sci-fi pilot, awful sci-fi pilot, which is on YouTube. It's called Starstruck. It's a half-hour pilot. It has to be seen to be believed. It was about an outer space restaurant, and they were trying to imitate Star Wars. And they said, "Give me the robot from Star Wars. Give me this from Star Wars. Give me that from Star Wars." And I said, "You know, I whatever I did, whatever whatever I said, went to deaf ears because they they made a shitty version of Star Wars as a TV pilot, and it was about a space station that was a restaurant, and I could tell you, I kept saying, "Don't do this, Herbert, do not do this." I called him Herbie, and he said, "It's going to work. It's going to work." And I said, "It's not going to work." And sure enough, CBS looked at it, threw it away on a summer night somewhere along the line when they had room. They just put it on once.
And for those who don't know, that was the network that okayed the Star Wars Holiday Special, and they still threw this one away.
Yeah, and then Herbie got a job. ABC called him, and they wanted to do Breaking Away, the bicycle movie, and they sent me to Athens, Georgia, to be a location manager. And I felt, oh, good, I'm being bussed around the country. I'm making some decent money. I got to Athens, Georgia, and coincidentally with my arrival, someone started making obscene phone calls to the sorority houses. And while I was there, they kept doing it, and the people from the production came in. Fox got wind of it and said, "It's got to be me. It's got to be the new guy you sent in. Get rid of him." Okay? So without any provocation, they fired me. And Herbie Leonard, to his credit, said, "I have to do this, but I don't want to. And I know you're not the guy." So he sent me back. This is where God, if there's a God out there, this is where God looks down and says, "Okay," and he does this, and you hear that sound from Bewitched, and he put me on a first-class flight back to LA. And I'm sitting next to a woman, and she says, "You look really bad." And I said, I told her that story about being fired, and then my career I thought was over. She says, "My husband works in the movies, and he knows Roger Corman. I think I could probably get a meeting with you and him. Not the husband, but with Roger.
Yeah.
Next week." I said, "That would be wonderful." I walk into Roger's office. He's lost his publicity guy 2 days earlier. I got all my stuff from my artwork and stuff from New York. He hires me on the spot. If I hadn't been on that plane
With that woman.
right, first class,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now. I'd be somewhere else.
That's insane. That is. Wow. That is.
And that's like, ding, 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 and it's like Vegas. We're all
Yeah, you cherry.
yeah, where
cherry,
the three sevens come up.
Yeah.
And I've always been thankful for that because if I hadn't been on that flight in first class, I would have. It would have been a whole different. My life would have been a whole different story.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long, but I got two last questions for you.
Sure.
What advice do you have to people who want to begin and want to be filmmakers?
Don't give up. You're not going to go to Los Angeles and go to the LA Times and see want ads for directors. They don't exist. I found that out when I went there. But keep looking, because if you're strong enough and can survive long enough, you're going to hit it. Okay? You're going to hit it. And just, keep trying. Because that's what I did. I kept trying. And even though I started as a PA, my first credit is production assistant on Starstruck, a terrible pilot. But it was a credit.
Yeah.
And it ran on CBS. And I said, well, there you go. And then as time went along, I ended up writing a script for Roger, and then my name was seen in the main titles.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, things are happening here. And, from there on in, I was writing everything. I was writing a lot of films, and I started directing. And it was like, okay.
Just never give up. Just keep
Yeah, and 173 movies later, I'm still cranking them out, and I enjoy it.
Yeah. And where can your fans find you? Can they find you online?
I'm on Facebook.
You're on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook. You could contact me on that.
Yeah. And one of the nicest guys in the movie industry I've ever met. You're cool. You're personable. You're just an amazing person.
I was brought up in New York. I was a street kid, and I had friends in school, and I had a good time growing up.
Yeah.
And my friends who I went to school with then, some of them now know me as who I am.
Yeah.
And they're kind of jealous because
Oh, I bet.
they went on to air conditioning repairman and
Oh yeah.
and stuff. And when I was in school, I didn't want any part of that.
No.
I had a dream of doing what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I followed it,
Yeah.
and it worked out well.
And you're out there doing what you.
Come here.
Yeah. Tina's gonna
Okay, I just want to tell you. Come here. Come on over here. Over here. Come on over here.
Oh, that's the part.
Sit here. This here is the other half of this whole team here.
Yes.
She makes good cupcakes, and she makes great chicken sandwiches.
Yes. She's,
And she helped put this whole podcast together. Her
Yeah,
name is
thank
Tina.
yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, Tina.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yep.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
If
But-
they're still watching by now,
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to bid everybody a good day and take care, and we'll see you all there. Bye.